What is up, guys? Iconic here, and today I'm back with another video. This time it's going to be my first look at Native Instruments Massive X. Now this isn't going to really be a tutorial on the plugin. I've only had about a day to play with it. Haven't really gone through the manual too much, just kind of my first impressions and what I've noticed about the plugin. But you know, guys, throw a comment down if you want me to do a more in-depth video once I get my hands on this a little bit more. But yeah, this is the highly anticipated new plugin by Native Instruments. Little menu system, nice and clear. You have all your plugins there, or all your presets, I should say. It has a best of section, which I guess was the developer who decided the best plugins that they included in the factory bank. And then here you go, quick start, modulation effects controls, Massive X blank, so that's absolutely nothing on there. So you can take a look at that. I'm just gonna init a preset, so like you would do in the original Massive, it's right there, and that's your basic saw wave type sound. Here's the interface. Immediately, I'm sure you can tell it kind of looks like Serum and Massive had a baby, and that was my first impression. So just running over the interface real quick. Up top, we have a pitch bend wheel here. You know, maps to your pitch bend. As I'm moving it on my push here, you can see it moves. Modulation control, same thing. I'm not sure what this AT is, but I've noticed you can map that around here. I will learn what that's about and maybe go over this in a later video. Now up top here, 1 through 16, those are all of your assignable macros. So you double your macro bank from Massive, and yeah, you have 16 macros, so that should be plenty for you to do all of your modulating and all of your macro changes. Now over here on the left side, we have all your pitch information, your glide time. There's turning on glide, which is pretty much portamento. You have your looks like global pitch type information here, or maybe global oscillator pitch. Yeah, that works that way. And over here, looks like we have like global pitch bend down on the bottom, and maybe a global portamento too. Maybe this is oscillator based and this is global. Yeah, so in the oscillators themselves, looks like we have a fresh new kind of display that Massive is running. We have you know, your wavetable picker here, nice and clean, all organized, similar to Serum. Bunch of different wavetables in there by stock. Same thing on the other side. It's literally just mirrored from oscillator 1 to 2, or wavetable 1 to 2. And what's a cool new feature with Massive X is they now have the kind of visually moving wavetables in there. So if I wanted to go to like this type of wavetable here, you can see that the wavetable, I'm not sure if there's a like a 3D view like Serum has, and I'm not sure if there's a wavetable editor, but you can see that Massive finally has this kind of like visual wavetable modulation, so you can see exactly what you're doing to the waveform. And over here you got your volume, filters, typical filters, phase. Maybe this is what you're filtering and phasing. And looks like this is pulse modulation, perhaps. Not too sure what that's all about, but I'll cover that in a later video. Moving to the right here, you have your noise generators, standard to a lot of modern plugins nowadays. Pitch on there, the different type of noise. There's quite a few types of noise in there, so it should give you a lot of versatility. And yeah, volume there. Moving on here, it looks like these are filters. You got a bunch of different filters. If you could just go to like a typical, you know, low pass, that's changing the steepness of the curve. You got resonance, frequency. Not sure what KTR is. Frequency modulation maybe, and gain. Moving on to here, looks like you have some kind of dynamic effects, similar, looks like the same effects that were in Massive, maybe with a couple added ones. The Massive effects that were in the bottom of the original plugin. Yeah, you got like sample and hold, bit crusher, those types of dynamic distortion effects. Looks like this is your global amplitude section right here, feedback perhaps, and then global panning. And over here we have your different like spatial effects, your time-based effects, dimension expander, flanger, phaser, reverb. You can have 3 of those set up, looks like, which is kind of cool. So instead of the 2 in the typical Massive, now they added an extra one, so you can have 3 different time-based effects in there, and changing up the different types of effects in there. Hard clip, soft trip, overdrive for the nonlinear lab, and like reverb. You got a delay, chorus, size, send, mix, and color, all in this one reverb unit, as well as different types of reverb. So that's kind of a cool effect. Now moving down in the plugin, we have this little black strip here, which is going to be all of your like modulators and automations. Kind of the P here is performance. So I'm not too sure what the notes are in. I guess this is like changing note value. But yeah, you can draw notes, everything. This is essentially, I don't know how much it's really gonna affect it in there, but yeah, these are your performers. You got 3 of them off the bat, 1, 2, 3. And then here is a grid mode, which goes tandem with the performer mode. I'm not sure if it can do, yeah, it only works with the performance mode. So I'll have to play a little bit more with that when I get more in depth. Moving to the right here, you have your envelopes. So that got your attack, release, typical. I'm not sure if you can move these on the bottom. I wish there was a visual representation of this this envelope, but maybe I'm just ignorant and haven't messed around with enough. Maybe there's a different way to view it. Also not really sure what these numbers are. Maybe it's like some type of performance setting, the like different versions of performance. One there, yeah, it looks like we can have like if we're on, you might be able to have up to 12 different variations of each performance, so that'd be kind of a cool effect. Moving on after the envelopes, typical LFOs. This time in the LFO bank, a lot of different shapes. Very easy to switch between them. The LFO level, the rate, nothing you haven't really seen before. Just like Massive, you'd get the LFO that you'd want, put it on the parameter, and then you know, apply there. I don't know. There you go. You can kind of hear. Oh, which one was it? There we go. It was 4. So not the best sound for it, but you can hear that work there. And in this next section of 3, we have 1 envelope and 2 more LFOs, random LFO and a switcher LFO. So it's kind of cool that they have these different banks of LFOs and envelopes to shape the sound. Now, one thing I did notice in these envelopes here, from the time that I originally recorded the video and the time that I uploaded it, is that you can actually change these 3 banks here of envelopes and LFOs. That's a really cool feature. I didn't realize before. I guess this amp envelope here is by default amp, but all of these ones, right here, and all of these 3 are all switchable to whatever type of envelope, modulation, LFO, random LFO. You can switch them to any of those, which is really cool. I'm not really sure what these T's are. I'll definitely have to figure that out. It kind of looks like the clip automation for Ableton. If I were to like make a MIDI clip here and go into the clip automation here, kind of looks like this screen a little bit. Close Massive for a second. This screen, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen, use it for like doing build-ups and stuff. Massive X, and you know, have all these positions to So it kind of looks like this screen. You can get to that one by just clicking this envelope editor and then going over here. But anyway, yeah, I'm not really sure what this is, but it looks like it functions similarly to that window I just showed you in Ableton. And then VR beats me what that's for. If you come down here to voice, this is where you'll be doing your global voicing. Set the voices of polyphony right there. And if you go to mono, obviously different settings come up, like glide. And the engine setup here, as you can see, these oscillators spread and phase aren't really activated right now because free run's on. I guess this is analog style, which wouldn't have these options. So if you go to reset all or reset oscillator, then these oscillator controllers become active. Moving down here, this noise oscillator, it's the phase for the noise. It's connected to this noise oscillator up here. Unison over here, stereo width, chord morph, which is kind of cool. Here's a really big part that Native Instruments stressed when they were advertising or coming out with this product, is this routing. So this is kind of a cool feature. There's been routing in a lot of plugins before, but you know, it looks like a nice and clean way of doing it. You have all the different modules that you have here. So basically, this plugin looks like it's going to be module based, whereas in Massive, there was pretty much one signal flow, and you can choose to do either parallel or serial, where it would either process the signal separately on two sides and then sum it together, or it would process one and then that processed signal would go through the other effect and then get processed. So it's a slightly different layout from that. I can kind of show you what that's about real quick. So it looks like you can change the order in which these modules are being processed, where in Massive, I believe it kind of like went down here, through here, went through the effects, and then there's a certain signal flow, and that pretty much looks like it's it for the interface. Now I can just kind of go through and play some of the presets, show you what kind of sounds this thing's pumping out, and yeah, then we'll wrap it up. So just some leads. Pretty nice sounding, very clean. It's kind of cool that there's some glide on these plucks. Some plucks, show you some of the real instruments here. As you can see, I just turned that from mono to poly. Check out some of the basses. Now the basses are pretty good. A lot of them are pretty interesting, but for the type of music I do, some of them aren't great. But there's, you know, a vast variety of types of sounds, and obviously it's a pretty powerful engine. So if you know even a little bit about sound design, you can kind of either modify them or start to craft your own basses. So kind of like that. The part I find more interesting is just the movement in the bass. Burn the speaker. That's a pretty good one. Burn the speaker. Let's do a couple more real instruments. Yeah, let's do some piano and keys. Very dreamy. And, you know, I'll do some sound effects real quick because I've been liking these. This is where I get excited for some really, really interesting sounds to add to your production. So cool. So cool. In my opinion, I feel like that's where Massive shines, is those really, really interesting, intricate sounds that you haven't really heard a whole lot before. Badass. But yeah, this has been Massive X. Like I said, throw those comments down if you want me to learn this a little bit more and kind of go more in depth. Maybe make a little bit longer video, but this has been my first impressions. Thanks for commenting, liking, subscribing. It's been an Iconic production. Thanks for watching.